You do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the is that, dude?
There you go. Evening, folks. I love that one so much I left it up. 6 of them in Western Australia. More to come. Federal government hasn't even announced an election yet, but there's 6 so far. How's your Friday going? Are you on holidays? I hope you're enjoying your holidays, if that's what you are doing at the moment. Weather around the southeast corner has been pretty nice, although there was a storm that came through this morning. Very intense cell. Dropped 6 millimeters of rain in less than 15 minutes. And I know that because I'd just done the washing and hung it out. And it had been well spun. It was almost dry, and 6 mil of rain. Plus, I installed I'm feeling like my father now. I've installed a water gauge. But then I returned more to feeling like myself when yesterday on a ride on mower, I tried to mow around it and drove over it and smashed it. Except for the 6 mil bit, I can measure how much rain falls up to about 25 mil. So we'll see what happens. At any rate, beautiful part of the world we're in. I hope wherever you are, it's just as beautiful. And if you are enjoying your new year off, then good luck to you. Here's a bloke that I would love to wish a very happy new year to, my dear friend in Mannum, South Australia, the waving wonder himself. This is Vincent. How are you, brother? Happy New Year. No, if you're going to talk, you're going to need to turn your microphone on. Yeah.
See, I turned it off just to give our other guest a call, but he didn't answer, so I forgot to turn it back on. So that was to you and to all our listeners. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year indeed. Did you put it in quietly? Did you party? Did you play? What did you do?
I slept.
You slept?
I slept.
Well, I know how your body clock works. Yeah, I know how your body clock works. You probably went to sleep at 3 o'clock, New Year's Eve, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and woke up at 5 o'clock New Year's Day. So
yeah, pretty much. I did hear the fireworks go off though, so at least I got 2 seconds. 2 seconds of New Year's.
So I imagine
whatever
going down the street at the moment's a bit tough. In your part of the world, this time of the year, it'd be full of holiday makers, wouldn't it?
Yeah, mate. Just trying to go to our local IGA, and it's like just dodge the camper vans, the campers and the buses, and it's like can't even find a park because they're all parked long ways across here and over there,
and the ski boats, I
imagine. Haven't seen much of them. I've tried to dodge the main street as much as possible. So.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Right.
For those
we basically.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, we basically call it this time of the year terrorist time, not tourist time, terrorist time. So.
Isn't it funny how tourist towns feel like that, the people who live in them, but the towns really couldn't do without the tourists coming once or twice or 3 or 4 times a year, just for that 100%. Influx that they bring. But yeah. And of course, it's a great way of unifying your community a little bit more. You've been working flat out on My Place stuff pretty much over the Christmas, New Year period. Is there anything there you want to lead us into a little bit? The app I know you're working on, is that anywhere closer to a release date?
Yeah, I've just got a couple more people to get on and test the new version we put up for the Android. It's already available now on the Apple Store. So, but of course you do
have
to be a paid member of Unity Hub to get that. So
yeah. So just explain what the app is. It's the Unity Hub app.
Yep. So with our current misinformation, disinformation being squashed, although they're trying to re-raise it, and digital ID and whatever, but the Unity Hub site is a site where anybody can go and do free speech and chat about various things that they believe medically or health food wise or council actions or anything like that. And they can talk with other people with similar interests. Then they can go from there to basically, it's a paid service. And if there's anybody who harasses anybody, then the people can themselves say, hey, this guy's doing the harassing, and they do the adjudication on whether that person gets to stay on the board or not in it. So it's a real public forum type thing, a bit like, I can't think what that app part of the app is that is used by Elon Musk, where they chat about whatever they want. So its greatest purpose is that you are free to speak. You won't get your account banned unless you don't follow our positive culture agreement, which is be nice to everybody.
Yes.
Pretty much.
I've had the opportunity over the last, few weeks, if I'm honest. This subject of community and unity in community is pretty close to my heart. And in fact, pretty close to my life. Every community has its different opinions, its different voices, its different personalities. And what I've come to see is that we also have many people vested in ego.
Yep.
I'm not sure that. Yeah, I'm not sure that.
You agree?
We can go forward until we start thinking about others before ourselves. I was talking about this with someone in the car today, and how can our community move forward if the people making the decisions are making them based on, well, if I make this decision, it helps somebody over, one side of a property, or helps them with one set of machinery, or helps them with something, but I get no benefit out of that. How do you? We've got to get to a point where it's not about what's in it for me. It's about what's in it for us. And then once we've sorted out what's in it for us, we won't have to worry about what's in it for me, because it will come to me. Because if we care about others first, we will be looked after. And if we can get enough people on that mantra, I think it's going to work. Tim Dwyer is sitting in the green room. I'd love to bring him in, but I can't see him. Now, I'm not sure if that's he and Corinne hiding their final goodbyes. I mean, I know she does like to kiss and cuddle him, and he doesn't mind being kissed and cuddled. But he might have to go out and rejoin, because at the moment, if they are kissing and cuddling, they're doing it in the dark. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So I think we've got to look at ways of being able to be better humans, viewing from our community level outwards, to the world. And that doesn't mean you've got to become, some sort of tree hugger that goes after every green thing on the agenda. Far from it. If we go all out with a view to looking after ourselves properly, looking after the earth properly, looking after nature properly, looking after our food properly, but more particularly looking after our fellow man / woman in this day and age, then
you better be careful about talking about women, mate. That might get you in trouble. Not saying anything. That's a personal joke between me and Carl. There's a movie.
I just got the joke. I just got the joke. Because I've got a T-shirt that I was going to show you that I had up, I think, on one of the shows last night or the night before, which basically says, if you've got a problem with gender, Go and try and
Try
milk a bull.
milking bull. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
so-
T-shirt.
Yeah.
But have
yes,
you ever
but
seen? Have you ever seen the movie
Your joke's
Pay
much
It
funnier.
Forward?
Pay it forward. I have seen
Yeah.
that. Yes.
I
And
recommend.
I try to do it. I have done it.
Yes,
I have done
it
it on occasions. I don't get to do it enough, unfortunately, but I have done that. Back when I used to go through drive-throughs, I've been known to pay for the order that's coming behind.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's just a matter of doing that. It helps lift you personally, and you don't have to take credit for it, but it helps somebody else out in distress. And I mean, there are people that actually make a living out of paying it forward because they go and stream it on TikTok or YouTube or whatever.
yeah,
And it's heartwarming. It is heartwarming for the people to watch, right?
Yeah.
So, but
I've had it. I've
paying,
had people at the supermarket, who've not had enough money to cover whatever they were buying, and I've happily, paid for it, rather than huffing and puffing that they're holding up the queue. All right. The easiest thing is if they're, $5 short, $10 short, pay for it. The queue moves, everybody's happy. It's and $5 or $10 isn't anything really huge. I mean, millionaires don't become millionaires by giving their money away. I agree. They probably have a lot more patience than me. Standing in a supermarket queue in January, but I don't. So while it's also a nice, good thing to do, it's also expedient for me. It helps me and helps me get on with my day with a smile on my face, knowing I've done something nice for somebody else. And God knows I have been helped so much by others that, I have to pay it back. It's not forward nowadays. I think it's paying it back. But always look for those opportunities. And there are. No, I don't want to talk about this because there are things that go on in the background that I do that
you don't need to.
We don't.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea is that we put forward the fact that we pay it forward when you can, how you can, even if it's just helping somebody change a tire or, sharing some tomatoes you grew in your backyard. It makes no difference. And it's not about the recognition. It's about doing the action, right?
Yes.
It's about helping your fellow man.
Yes.
Or woman or child or Tim Dwyer, if the case may be. Right? Not that Tim needs much help, but still.
I don't know. How are you, buddy?
Greetings.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys too, and to everybody online tonight. Welcome, and 2025, the year Australia came alive.
Yep.
Whoa, I like that. Is that a new song?
Well, it could be.
Don't send him down that path. He's already got enough to do in the next 3 months or so.
Yes. I could write another quick song about that, I think. Yeah.
How did you put in your new year? We've already been through it with Vince. He slept through it. I'm imagining you and Mrs. Dwyer were a tad more exciting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, we had the dancing girls over. We had the rock band out the front playing. No, we were very quiet. We did participate in a small amount of beverage.
Always
just
nice.
As a celebratory drink just prior to midnight, at midnight, and just after midnight. And then we waved goodbye to the old year and gave each other a nice kiss and went to bed. That was us.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Nothing earth-shattering happening in this end of South Australia.
No. Well, as it turns out, there are quite a few interesting things that happened on New Year's Eve in South Australia. Namely, the South Australian Police Force lost all communications from midnight till 4 a.m. on New Year's Day.
Yep.
And I'm not completely sure whether or not it could be related to the fact that at least 20 senior police officers resigned on the spot on New Year's Eve.
I didn't hear that bit, but yes, interesting.
So
I wonder why.
there's something going on in the South Australian Police Force.
Yep.
At the moment, something, I don't know, 20 senior officers on the night. And I mean, could the 20 that quit, could they have been the 20 manning the communication centre?
Or did two of them run the communication centre, and as they went out the door, they threw the switch?
Might be the case too. But apparently, the deal was every copper out of the station and on the streets. And they had no communications. So
all they had was their phones. Yeah.
yeah,
The communications section is actually run by civilians.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And maybe some of them quit too.
Yeah, there is obviously a police presence there, but a lot of the initial farm out of jobs is done by civilians. Well, not civilians, but people who are not police officers that are employed by the police department.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did see here in South Australia, in actual fact, in Gawler, we saw a magnificent driving exhibition by a road train driver in Gawler. He only tore the veranda off a very old heritage building and crashed into 3 cars. And he forgot to stop. And he was in a road train. He was in a side street, off a side street, trying to get back onto the main street, which has a concrete centre line in it, so he couldn't get over that without beaching the vehicle. And so he just cut the corner, and they finally got him stopped out on the highway because he forgot that he had to stop after an accident. And as best we understand, the man doesn't speak English. So if he doesn't speak English, he can't read English. And welcome to heavy transport drivers in Australia, and particularly here in Gawler in South Australia. It was somewhat entertaining, I can tell you.
Can I show you where they're recruiting from?
Sorry, Carl.
I'll show you where they're recruiting these non-English speaking drivers from.
This one was European.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
He was probably trained by one of the ones I was thinking of.
Yes, in the land of hot curry and chips.
Well, they have incentive to want to come over here. Really, a 7-Eleven franchise is pretty cheap at the end of the day, and Uber, they'll help you get into the car. But anything would be better than Uber. Yeah.
Best ever hair conditioner I've ever seen.
I wasn't sure if the end there, if he was just trying to, with the hands, was just trying to wiggle that elephant shit out of his nostrils.
Yeah, well, there we go. It's but look, the highways are bad enough as they are. I understand that those who are from faraway lands have a different driving standard expected of them than what we expect. And the testing, when the ordinary person comes to Australia, they don't even need to apply for an Australian license if they have one from someplace else.
With multi-combination licenses and licensing here in Australia, it's my understanding that, particularly for these international drivers, they are having the course paid for them, and I think the course is about $3,000. They're meant to be coming here with some driving, like heavy vehicle driving experience, but the biggest things they ever get to really drive 10, 15 ton trucks that, not there aren't too many articulated semis, or there probably are quite a few. They don't have highways like we do, and those semis are harder to get around. So they use these, 15-ton trays or box trucks.
Yeah.
What-
Well, in
which-
Europe, when I was over in Spain a few years ago doing some stuff with the hydrogen over there, the heaviest loads they've got in Europe is 45 ton.
oh, wow,
That's all
yeah.
they're allowed because the old
Yeah,
bridges don't take it. So 45 tons their limit. You put them in a road
Wow,
train with 100 ton, they're in trouble.
Yeah, that's not going to help. No. And of course, these guys get here. They are given a roster that, well, you might recall not too long ago, there was a fatal accident where 2 road trains, I want to say it was on the Nullarbor, but it was somewhere on that Cross Australia route. 2 of them came together and exploded. I think 4 people were killed. They found in the wreckage a portaloo that indicated and indications that there was somebody sitting on the portaloo at the time of the accident. Now, I suppose it's not unheard of for trucks and truck drivers to take portaloos with them. However, in tandem driving or 2-up driving, you probably wouldn't keep it in the cab with you. And that's what this seems to be doing. They've just been long hauling non-stop, and that's what they do. 2-up drivers go as hard and as fast as they can. You can get across Australia with 2 drivers in 3 days, 3.5 days. And if they get speeding tickets, if they get pulled over or get any kind of fines, whether it be Perth or Sydney or Adelaide or Melbourne or wherever that trip pulls up, they take all their speeding fines to the office, pick up their paycheck and their passport, and go straight to the airport and fly back home. They will have made $20,000 or $30,000. They will have been out here 3 months, 20 or 30, or even 50 or 100,000 Australian dollars. Go back there and be millionaires. Come back here with the family after setting up the 7 franchise.
Carl, I've got to own up to something here. Years ago, Corinne and I used to do a lot of traveling, and with a bunch of other friends, and we were actually in Hawaii, and we were at the Royal Hawaiian Golf Club, and we'd hired Mustangs, and we parked them, but we must have parked them in the wrong place. So this was the 3rd time for the day we all got parking tickets. And then whilst we're at the Royal Hawaiian, we were having a hit of golf. Not that I play golf, but we loved the golf cart racing program we had going. But it had been raining, and a mate of mine, Mick, and his offsider, they came around a little bit of a bend on the golf cart track, and it was a bit wet, and Mick slid off the track onto the side of the hill, and the side of the hill went down to the dam, and the golf cart went in the dam, so we have to leave that one there. And when we got back to the car joint where we rented the cars from, we took all the parking fines and just binned them, because the next day we were going to be on the plane out of there. So we left a few of those behind ourselves.
Just be careful next time you go to America, mate. Just be careful.
Yeah, they'll be waiting for me.
In fact, I watched a very interesting video of a lady today who's gone through American customs and had her photo taken when she's reached the appropriate customs desk. Had no choice in the matter, had to have her photo taken. When she asked the person behind the desk if they needed to see her passport, they just said no. And she said, he said that it's facial recognition. He said, your passport will come up in front of me. And it did. And she said, what else can you see about me on that? And he said, anything I want to see. She said, can you see my medical records? Yep. Can you see my criminal record? Yep. Can you see my driver's license? Yep. number, anything I need to know about you, I can find out in this computer system.
Yeah.
That's what airport security is at the moment. And have you
Brave
noticed
new world.
how many of our international friends are running the security companies, or at least manning those security stations at the airports? I don't know how many flights you've taken recently, but it's spot the Aussie at the security desks. So,
Yeah. Well, look, things have got to change, my friends. Things have got to change, because multiculturalism is not about unifying people or anything like that. It's about cultural replacement. That's what
yes.
it's about. And look, everybody has the right. Everybody. I don't care whether you're black, brindle, green, yellow, what part of the world you come from. Everybody has the right to enjoy peace and happiness and love their family and have good health. However, there is no necessity other than political for people to be dispossessed, to have to go to another land. And in that political process, it's now orchestrated as a cultural replacement. The Australian culture is all but gone. It's still there, but it's all but gone. And the minute you speak up about it, you're tagged as a racist or a Islamophobe or whatever. And that's not the point here. The point is that I can't go to China and buy land. I can't take my Christian faith into a Muslim country. I can't do any of these things.
You can, Tim.
Well, yeah, I can.
You can. You just won't come out of it alive, probably. But yeah, you can still do it.
But we here in Australia are being programmed and educated to, she'll be right, that's okay, no, just let them go on, that's all right, don't buck up, just sit down, shut up, it's all right, don't be a racist. We're not being racists. We are biased, but not racist. And I think there's a big difference between being biased against something and a racist.
So that very first picture you put up earlier today, Carl, the one you accidentally left up.
Oh, yes.
Right, really right down the appropriate line, right here and now. Who's being racist when they say this?
Yeah.
Right? Not us. This is the actual politicians doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting up their 6 Indian candidates. That's the racism of it.
Yeah. And just before Christmas, there was the big push with Pauline and One Nation with a Sikh candidate, I think, in Western Australia. He also, didn't he, Vince, you were telling me he was the same bloke who ran in South Australia. Sounds like a serial offender, if you ask me. Desperate to get into politics.
Well, as I said, he's not a bad fella. He's not a bad fella.
I'm not suggesting for a moment any of them are bad people. I'm just wondering, per capita, per percentage of population, our Aboriginal friends, our First Nations people, are currently overrepresented, I think, to the tune of about 13-1 in our parliament. How much overrepresentation will the Indian communities, and then think of those fractured communities, between the Sikhs and whoever else there are, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the whatever. So how much of our community is fractured again? Where are the thong-wearing, beer-swilling, mullet-wearing footy followers of days of old? I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing that we haven't got them everywhere, but the true Aussies are disappearing. And even in the bush, where certainly in my experience, I've found some of the wildest, best Australian personalities ever. Now, you go to the bush, and while it's wonderful to see some Indians or some Ethiopians or some Sri Lankans or some, wherever else Africans come from, have turned up on the streets and they're walking around. It's unfortunate that they've also brought crime with them, because in my opinion, a lot of these people that are being imported, not necessarily from the subcontinent, but certainly from Africa, have been brought up in a nation and in a time where you take or you have things taken from you. If you aren't strong enough to survive the system, then you won't survive. So if a kid is walking down the street and they're wearing a pair of brand new sneakers, and one of these Africans turns up and says, "I want your sneakers. They're really nice." They're used to taking the sneakers off the person they're accosting for them and going home with them. Whereas Australia, and it's been that culture. Indians
Carl,
are used to ripping everybody off a little bit because there's a billion of them and they all do it. So if everybody rips each other off just a little bit, it all goes around. It's a very fair thing. But if you try and do that to an Aussie, he'll put a hammer through your windscreen.
I think some of the comments in the chat are interesting. I don't know whether you're following any of the chat, right?
I'll have to go
He's
down.
changed his name. That was Collective X, I think, but
but
we've got a guy who's going off in the chat. Sorry, I'm going to just deal with this. Going off in the chat. We are media people, and sometimes we get certain content that we need as evidence. So if that content is showing stuff that is happening out there, it needs to be kept. So don't go shooting somebody because they're doing the right thing. They're doing the job. They're keeping the evidence. So to answer the person called Project Andy Cooker that nobody else can probably see because our moderators are doing a fantastic job.
Oh, good. Because I
why.
can't. I'm scrolling back through there and can't see. Oh, hang on. Now I can see shit. Oh, yeah, look at that.
I put Collective X in a 24-hour timeout because of his rhetoric. We were just talking about positive culture agreement and being nice to everybody. And so anyway.
Moving right along.
Yeah, if he wants to have a go at me, he can have a go at me because it's water off the duck's back for me. Sorry, Tim, carry on.
No, that's all right. I think that these taboo subjects need to be fleshed out a bit more. Maybe not tonight, but down the track, these subjects need to be fleshed out simply because it is an underlying pressure vessel that will pop its cork one day if it's not aired. And, you've only got to look at the situation in the UK where they find themselves today because they were all told to sit down, shut up, and accept multiculturalism. And now they find themselves. No, it didn't end well for them. However, Turkey's doing all right with it because they won't let any in. Right? So
and Poland as well, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. So, look, people, we have to understand something, that there's a culture of a fair go in this country. There's a culture that says, do you need a hand, mate? I'll give you a hand. Now, I'll give you an example. I was driving down one of the streets in Gaul, and there's a young bloke standing there with a Falcon with a flat tyre, and he's standing there with a jack and a wheel brace in his hand, and he had no bloody clue what to do with it, right? He knew he had a flat tyre, and he knew these things had something to do with it, but he didn't know how to use them. And I had to go past him, and when I turned around and came back, he was still standing there. So I pulled up and said, do you need a hand? And he goes, well, yeah. He said, I've never changed a tyre before. Now, I think that should be part of, getting your license, learning how to do general maintenance. But anyhow, So I showed him what to do. I didn't just change it. I showed him what to do, and I got him to do most of it. And anyway, in the end, he was very, very thankful. And he and his wife and their little kid and their mother were on their way. They were Indians. Now, did that because they were people of a different culture? That didn't stop me from lending a hand, because that's the culture of Australia. That's what we do. However, we don't want to walk away from our culture in fear of being racist and not speaking our mind. when we see anomalies where people come to this country and the government giving them $36,000 a year for 3 years to start a business.
Yeah.
I can't get it. You can't get it. Everybody on the chat here can't get it, but here in South Australia, they get it.
Well, my daughter's fiance, who's Indian, and he's basically 3 months old, I think, when he was born here. His mother came over. She didn't get it back then.
No.
She had to do it the hard way. She did it legally.
No, she would have done it the hard way. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know.
But yeah, this is why you see
it
so
just
many
seems the handouts that they're getting are far and away anything above what an Aussie is getting by way of help. The banks will say they'll help you, but all they're doing is putting you in a debt trap. So you're quite right. Things have to change. I've just seen one of these comments. This Project Anti-Cooker. Well,
I already explained it.
No, I'm going to address it because I want to point out just how fucking stupid these people are. All right. How can you defend a man who at times has, on 2 times, has said he has abusive material on the computer, child abuse material she's talking about here, apparently, or he, whoever this turd of a human being is, says they've reported me now. I've never said it's on my computer, you fuckwit. Not ever, not once. You've made that up in your that fucking bean of a brain of yours. You've made that up.
That's actually correct because I've been through your computer cleaning it out. So I know that's true. Good point.
Yep.
Good point.
Yep. Fucking bean of a human being, this one in the brain. And admitted he'd disappear. In a big blue bus that's like 12 meters long and 2.5 meters wide. I'll disappear up my own blue sky orifice. That'll be what happens with that. I don't know where the hell I'd disappear to. This is the kind of numpty, Project Anti-Cooker. You're a turd of a human being who thinks you might be onto something that's going to stir me up or upset me in some way. Really, you are an amusement for a Friday night. So if only to point out that you are simply not smart enough to just fucking listen, which proves my point to turds like you. If you only opened your fucking ears, opened your eyes and read some facts rather than sat there with your thumb up your ass yelling at people like me, you might learn something.
Hey, Carl,
it is a free-for-all.
About this?
It is a free-for-all, and he was doing the free-for-all bit. So good on him, right? After all, everybody's opinion is allowed to be their opinion, even if it does stink. But, you know.
Well, this person has actually defamed me. So, and defamed me quite seriously. And is doing it behind, doing it the most gutless way they can. If this turd of a fucking human being and the other one, the Collective X, who I kicked out 5 minutes ago and will probably come back, have one shred of proof of what you say, then be the man or woman of honor that you should be. Use your real fucking name and bring it on, baby. Use your real name. Stop hiding behind this bullshit and use your real name. I don't hide behind anybody else's name or nom de plume. You gutless, weak fucking mice have already used up too much time of my time tonight.
Yep.
I apologize.
So that's all right. We're going to go back to more important things. Mr.
So
Dwyer.
What are we actually going to talk about tonight?
Well, I don't know. Can we hear any more about a picnic?
Well, it's getting interesting. It's getting very interesting. The amount of material that just seems to have appeared in my inbox and otherwise in sealed envelopes to me through the Christmas era is more than enlightening. And we have, how do I put this? We have...
Well, actually, I'll raise a question that might just
Okay.
be a thing. You recently, in your last video that you put out on your Tim's Truth channel,
Yeah.
right? You showed a particular file that talked about when they changed the seal for in 1973, and that the Queen brought over a seal. Now, is there how was that legal or not legal? I mean, did the Queen actually write or get parliamentary permission to change the seal, or what? What's the story there?
Okay, the Great Seal of the Commonwealth, right? And it is it's a seal granted by the Crown for use by the Governor General to enact laws. All right. In 1973, Gough Whitlam changed the Constitution unlawfully. Then in 1988, Bob Hawke introduced the Great Seal of Australia, of the Commonwealth of Australia, which took the crown out of the seal. All right. So now we have a seal that doesn't have the lion and the unicorn on one side and all the states' banners, the state seals, right?
Yeah.
And he replaced that with the kangaroo and the emu, the chook and the rat, and that was the Great Seal of Australia. Now that seal is a functionary seal that could only be used for internal events, like if he was inviting people to a ball or whatever, they could put that seal on there. It has no function to create laws. And because in 1973, Gough Whitlam took the Commonwealth of Australia out and left only Australia, so 115 pages of changes to the Commonwealth without the knowledge of the people. So therefore, what happens is now we've gone from having the Great Seal of the Commonwealth to the Great Seal of Australia, which is the fraud. And now King Charles agreed to the Great Seal of Australia that has no semblance to the crown. It just has the kangaroo and the emu on it and Australia. And that seal, we've got two companies, and each company, any company, has to have a stamp, a seal. The current seal that Bonnie King Charlie goes, yes, that's very nice, well done, here you are, here's the seal, is the seal of the corporation of the Commonwealth of Australia, all capital letters, meaning the corporation. So therefore, again, and I'll come back to it this way, the Constitution states that the Parliament shall be known as the Parliament or the Parliament of the Commonwealth. Now, the Parliament of Australia, or the Australian Parliament, however they want to write it, is wholly unknown inside the Constitution. It doesn't exist in the Constitution. That is the corporation. And what we're saying is that nobody in this country has a legitimate contract with the corporation, the Parliament of Australia, or any state or any council, because they've all failed the 8 factors of a contract. Now, because we were hoodwinked into the contract by tacit consent, by not understanding, it's a fraud. And so our whole attack will be that we, the people, are going to take away from the corporate any ability to use our money, our labor, our mining revenue, our tax, our anything to support their corporation, and they are trading insolvent. Now, around the world, any corporation that's trading insolvent has to cease operations within 7 days.
US is in trouble then.
Sorry?
So the US is
Yeah.
in trouble then.
Yeah, right. They're trading in every country out there is trading insolvent, and so they just keep racking up a debt. Now Australia's got an agreement with the United Nations that they will borrow every dollar required to do any capital works, state or federal, from the international bankers. Your tax doesn't pay for any of that stuff. The tax is
Okay.
just paying the interest and
I
everything else.
want to go back a bit here though, Tim. Right? Because in '73 was when the proper seal from the British Parliament and the Queen was retired, correct?
Correct.
And you said that the new Australian seal came into play in around '88. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's two things happened there. In 1973, the seal was, we've got the FOI on this on our website. Under FOIs, you'll be able to see it. It was requested to show us the evidence of the instrument that allowed the seal to be retired. No evidence could be found of any instrument that allowed the Commonwealth seal to be retired. And then there was the seal of Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen of Australia, and then there was the Australia seal in '88. So the Queen Elizabeth came in 73, I believe, and then the Australia seal came in '88 through Bob Hawke, and now through Nupty Bum, we've now got this new corporate seal again. So what we're doing I saw a comment pop up before that I sound a bit like Ricardo Bosi.
I don't know if that was you or me. I was doing the yelling.
Yeah, let me put it to you this way. I am in a position at the moment where I am moving towards giving the people of Australia the opportunity to come out from under the corporation. And it's not just me, there's a bunch of us. And what we will be doing is we don't have to go and storm the gates at Canberra. We don't need millions of people in Canberra. We only need maybe 10,000 people in Canberra. But what we're then going to be able to do is give everybody the document that they require personally to take to their own parliament or parliamentary member's office. And if the parliament's closed, nail it on the door. Or if you can get to their office, just hand it in, that you will fill out notifying them that you are no longer participating in the fraud, that you are becoming a Commonwealth national under the 1901 Commonwealth Constitution Act, under the Lion and the Unicorn non-copyright version as proclaimed and gazetted. And then in doing that, we will be doing our thing in Canberra. We will populate Parliament House, and we will form a legitimate, lawful, Commonwealth constitutional parliament. And therefore, internationally, the documents will go international where they've got to go to notify the monetary funds, the Papal Council, Washington, D.C., all these people, that the corporation of the Commonwealth of Australia, all capital letters, registered in Washington, D.C., is trading insolvent and is no longer, the people of Australia no longer support it in any way, shape or form. Now, that'll give everybody that's out there the opportunity to stand up, to do what they have to do, instead of, we're not standing around bitching and whinging much anymore. This is action on the ground. This is actually in the process of being put together. And I'm not telling anybody to do something that I'm not prepared to do myself. We the Australian people, I honestly believe there's millions of us who have had an absolute guts full of everything from local council through to the Nupty show in Canberra. And it has to stop. I mean, think about this. They're bringing out every new car that comes into this country now, because we don't build them here. every new car now has to have geofencing ability in it. You can go and look that up, people, what geofencing means. And it'll blow your bloody mind. You think that the 15-minute cities aren't real? Get your head around this. The UN, who just took on the WHO's mandates of taking over the sovereignty when there's a new pandemic release, well, they're just releasing it. They're in the process of letting it out. And the UN will then come in, boots and all, with their light blue hats. And this government, this corporate government, supposedly on your behalf, have agreed to it to cede their sovereignty to a bunch of goose steppers. This has to stop. And the only thing that can stop it, there is not a court that will stop it. There's not an international body that will stop it. The only thing that can stop it is you and me. And it's not just me waving my hat around. It will, and instead of all of us going to Canberra, if we blocked up the main street of Sydney and Brisbane and everywhere else while we're trying to put our documents into the Parliament, I think that'd get somebody's attention. You know, I think they couldn't tell us, there was only, 250 people in Canberra. Right? So stay tuned.
Yeah. So just to be perfectly clear here, since the removal of the Commonwealth Seal in 73, a Commonwealth Seal is required to enact a piece of law out of the Commonwealth Parliament, correct? The Parliament of the Commonwealth. So that means from 73, every single piece of legislation that they have done that may have a different seal on it is not actually law.
Not in accordance to the Constitution. It is not law. It is no law at all. Right? It's null and void. Now, think about this, that everything since 1973, every treaty, every trade agreement, every contract to sell the electricity, the gas, the whole lot is being done under the aspect of fraud.
Yeah.
Right? It's a fraud. And fraud viterates everything right from the beginning. You can go back to the beginning. And anything that's tainted with fraud, like when people now go and vote, okay, we've got an election supposedly coming soon. And everybody's got, we got to go and vote, got to vote. We're going to get rid of Labor. Labor's terrible. We'll put Liberal in. That'll be better. Listen to me, please. Pay attention. When you go and vote, on the AEC website, your name is in all capital letters. That is a legal fiction, a corporation. That is not you, the man or woman. So therefore, when you go in and tick the box that's me, thank you, I'm here, yep, well, I'm going to vote, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put the independents in, we'll kick their ass from the inside.
Which we should still try and do.
Yeah, look, they've tried it, Vince, for 50 years. I'm sorry, they've tried it for 50 bloody years to keep the bastards honest, and they're still charging ahead like a bloody steam train out of control with nobody at the controls. So what you're actually doing is agreeing to the terms and conditions of the corporation for the next 4 years.
Under duress.
Yeah, but most people don't understand it's under duress. It's fraudulent. Now, those who do understand that it's fraudulent and choose not to vote, at the referendum, there was 3,700,000 people didn't vote that were eligible to vote.
Yep, there was 4 million at the last federal election too.
Okay, so therefore, how many people have been taken to court?
Does that mean, though, if that 4 million people are awake and didn't want to vote?
Yeah.
You think about that, though. That same 4 million people could have voted independence, and then we would have some people in there to do some damage.
Let me explain.
It would still be under duress. I understand that you're working inside the system.
Yeah.
Right? I understand that, but we can't ignore a possible avenue of attack at taking our country back because their system has all of the other parts to it. Like they have the enforcement arms, etc. We don't have that.
Yeah. Now, think about this. There's situations where there's enough independents and minor parties that nowhere on the docket is Liberal or Labor referenced. Okay? Therefore, if Liberal or Labor are not referenced, the votes don't get counted because it is a two-party preferred system. And so we've seen it.
Yeah, but it does. I have seen it as well because I read in it.
But
on the night they counted as two-party preferred, but they do go back and recount every vote and shift stuff around, but it's never enough to make a difference.
No. So anyway, the theory is this, that let us bring back a legitimate constitutional parliament. Now, I'm not saying our constitution doesn't need a little bit of attention. It surely does, particularly since the monarch has thrown us under the bus so badly. And literally, before Charles even came out here, he said that if the Australian people wish to become a republic, he would not stand in their way. What sort of protection, as king in his oath, he swore an oath to protect the people of the Commonwealth.
That's his job.
Just broke his oath, right? He just broke his oath. Anyhow, so we need to come back under a legitimate, lawful constitution. Once we are back under that constitution, then it's not up to Gough Whitlam or Bob Hawke or Tim Dwyer or Carl or Vince to make alterations to the constitution. It's up to the people. And therefore, we're putting together this democracy app where people will be able to we can run referendums on the blockchain that can't be dicked around with, can't be altered. And the people of this country will tell the people in the parliament what they want in this country. And I think this would be a very, very, very strong political tool for the people, because the people are the ones that are supposed to be in charge of the politicians. Yep. The politicians have passed that many laws and bills that restrict people and empower themselves, like the secretary of the bloody Prime Minister's office. This year he's going to be paid $1 million a year.
I know. Somebody sent me the salary lists. The fees or the fees, the wages that these public servants are being paid and are never made to account for all the fuck-ups they make.
No, they can get away with all that. They never have
to give any of that money back.
400,000 more than the Prime Minister. That person gets $400,000 more than the Prime Minister of this country.
Yep. Yeah. All because they know how to. Well, you know why they get paid so much more? Because they're the gatekeepers. They're the ones that hide the government's secrets.
Well, you just have a look at the salaries. You have a look at the salaries of the CEOs of some of the larger councils. They get paid a lot more than the Prime Minister.
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
They do. I've seen that.
Okay,
Gold Coast City Council is a good one. Casey City Council. Now, the city of Casey is worth talking about now that we've got to that point. Have you heard they're going to charge people $400? They've got to get a permit to change the oil in their own car in their own yard.
I heard a bloke on a YouTube clip or some clip, and his expletives were very definite for the people in the council of Casey, and he was telling them where to go, how to get there, what they should do when they arrive there, and he will not be participating in any of their processes. He was very explicit.
So Casey has suburbs like Berwick and Cranbourne in it. So at the moment, half of Cranbourne would be at Canberra for summer nats, doing burnouts and carrying on. And anyone who's left would be out driving Uber or trying to figure out which car to steal to get home from the city tonight. But they're determined to make sure that you can't keep more vehicles on your property, or they're looking to regulate how many vehicles are on any property at any given time. And there is a proposition being put forward. And well, no, there's a proposition being put forward that it's going to go down to you will only be able to have as many cars on the property as you have bedrooms in the house. Now, what's that do for people, Tim? You and I know a couple who collect cars, who may not have 15 or 20 of them, but might have one or two, a nice old Holden and a nice old Ford. Plus, they've got whatever they're driving around today, the work ute that they get around in, and the missus' car. Where's this going to leave them?
Okay.
Here's another question. They only got one bedroom, but they're a couple and they've got a car each. Oops.
They've retired. Yeah. Oh, yeah. One bedroom. Yeah.
So
good point.
Here's the interesting thing. This comes back to what my whole thing I've always banged on about. Who owns this bloody land? You've paid for it. It's your mortgage. You've done all the stuff. You own it. Now, if I own the land and I've paid for my property and I'm still being taxed by the council called rates. Now these knob jockeys want to come in and charge me for doing my own servicing on my own car in hard times when money's tight. Then if they have a right, an interest in my land, then I think it's fair that I should charge them their share of the mortgage.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you have an interest, pay your share. If you have no interest, piss off.
We could also be very conservative, or that's actually not the word I'm looking for, conservational, and return the oil to them as well.
Oh, yeah. We could bring that into the council
offices. Yeah.
We could trip over on the way in.
Well, no, I'm taking my container back home, but you get the oil.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Look, when you think about it, it just goes on and on and on and on and on, and nobody has been able to stop it. From the top to the bottom, they are corporations.
Yeah.
There must be a contract. Look, I've got a thing going on at the moment for land tax. 3 years ago, when they brought that lunacy out here in South Australia, I went in and said, yeah, look, the house is in a company name, in a family trust, but it's our primary place of residence. Oh, well, then you're exempt. Okay, great. We're exempt. 3 years later, I get a letter saying, in relation to your application for exemption of paying land tax. That was 3 years ago, right? You now have to pay 4 years land tax in one hit, right? And so I thought, well, that's not happening, is it? So I wrote them a nice letter, and they wrote back in due time and didn't cover any of the points, but just said they've looked at the letter and the ruling still stands, I've got to pay. Well, that's okay. They're allowed to say shit like that. And so now I've sent them a document, and I've listed the document as a constitutional challenge to the validity of me paying land tax to a corporation.
Yep.
Right? And so and everything I've put in that document, the only place they can now take it is to the High Court. And I'll guarantee you, London to a bloody brick, the High Court will not want to hear this. Right? Now somebody said, but you can pay it with...
What loophole will they find not to hear it?
That's not in standing, probably.
Well, no, I'm in standing.
No, the court will think it's not in standing.
Well, it's a constitutional issue.
Yeah, I know, but that's not the first constitutional issue they've ignored.
If Tim has standing, it has to be considered.
Oh, yeah, but they have to acknowledge the standing. And as I just said, it's not the first time they have ignored a constitutional
No
standing.
issue. No, that's right. They've ignored the section 42 and 44. And we sent as evidence all the videos of the prime ministers swearing their wrong oath. And they still, it was, no, we won't hear that because it'll be too disruptive to the Australian society.
Yeah.
Well, they're about to see a bit more disruption to the Australian society. If they want to sit there like a bunch of nupties and with their thumb up their bum and their brain in neutral, well, here we come.
It'd be interesting to know how many people out there in the freedom movement are fully aware that the government is a corporation and it can be proven so simply.
Yeah. See, this is why we don't want to actually go to court on these matters of what we're doing at the picnic. The court has no capacity because they are the corporation. They're in the game.
Yep.
So we'll just bypass them because as a part of the corporation, they can't hear an opposing view.
100%.
They are not. Yeah, they are not a legitimate high court.
And anybody sitting on it is in conflict of interest.
They are indeed. And so therefore, and again, under FOI, the Chief Justice of the High Court's never swore the lawful oath either. So, you know, the whole thing, we just have to work in a way whereby, I'm sorry, we're out, right? Here's a simple process. We notify their suppliers of whatever all over the world that their team has now been disqualified, and the people of this country are now taking back their legitimate parliament. They will be working lawfully and not participating in fraud, theft, or treason ever again.
Question for you from Wild Aussie Woman, Tim.
Yep.
When you sign a mortgage, in fine print, no one sees, says that you're the renter of the property. Is that what your mortgage says?
I don't know. I haven't looked at a mortgage for a long time. But what it says is that on your land title, let me just grab a land title here. No, that's not it. Where is it? Where's the land's title gone? Oh, bugger me. There it is.
Well, see, if you're a renter, you shouldn't be getting charged interest. So that's a bit of a challenge in its own right.
So in a title, it says the proprietor. You are the proprietor of the estate in fee simple.
Right.
Keywords in fee simple.
In fee simple. If your document doesn't have in fee simple, it just has property type fee simple, then you only have that land until you fall off the perch. It cannot be willed to your family unless you put it in a family trust or something similar, but then you're being done for land tax every year. So it's a real mishmash at the moment. But what happens is, here's the process when you get a mortgage. You go in, and I'll guarantee you London to a brick, when you wrote the document, when you signed the document for that amount of money on your mortgage, yours was the only signature on that piece of paper. The bank didn't have a signature on there. There was a witness, but yours was the only signature. Right? Now that became a bill of exchange. That became a promissory note of its own. And so when you hand that to the bank, say it's for $300,000, the bank monetized that instrument, i.e. sold it on the exchange. They got their $300,000. They then give you the $300,000 back that you just created. You create the money with your signature. The everything is created out of the signature. And so then they give you back the $300,000. that you have to pay them back again, and interest, which is another 300,000. So the bank gets paid 3 times on the run through, and you pay twice for something that you already created in your own power.
Yeah.
So that just may perhaps move off of this subject now that I pulled you into it.
Okay.
I know how much you love it.
I was going to say, we've just articulated the fraud beautifully there.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I hope people learn from that, right? And I do play devil's advocate. Sorry, Tim, you knew it was.
I know what you're doing.
There was an interesting one that you just popped up then a little bit ago about so many of the local businesses now, the small local businesses now, are by people who have probably not been in Australia for a significantly long period of time, if that's putting that nicely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if there's any stats available for that information. I mean, there used to be stats available for the amount of excess deaths that were happening in this country from the Bureau of Statistics, but that fell off the perch last year. You can't get that anymore.
No.
So I'm wondering if this sort of stats are available, and wonder what they would be like.
I'd look at the service companies, big cleaning companies, that kind of thing.
The Department of Immigration would have those stats.
On who's running businesses?
Yeah. They keep a track on what every immigrant's doing for $1, regardless of where they come from.
Okay. Interesting. That might be something worth chasing up down the track. All right, next question for you two guys. I'm the interviewer today. How do you like that?
Right.
What do you think? Sorry, Carl. Where do you believe the world is heading over this next year? Carl, you first.
I think a lot's going to depend on Donald Trump and whether or not he gets inaugurated on the 20th or 21st or whatever it is of this month. He has to get through the 6th yet, and there's an awful lot of action taking place in Washington, D.C., trying to gain support for the idea that they can stop his electoral college votes from being counted based on arguments around Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which, in short speak, essentially says that if you have committed incitement in any way, shape, or form against the government, you can never hold a government position. And they're trying to proffer the argument that Trump has, through January 6th, 2021, incited the nation. You know, anybody would think it was a coup. It was no such thing, but that's obviously the way the Democrats are going to play it. Now, all that needs to happen on January the 6th is for Kamala, whatever her name is, Harris, to have bigger balls than Mike Pence did on the 6th of January 2021, when he could have said, no, let's recheck those electoral college votes. But they are going to do exactly that, I think, on the 6th. And that's going to throw an interesting curveball into how things are playing out. Should they not do that and it all gets ratified, then, well, if you think, what was it, a drive-through mass murder with an electric F-150, a Cybertruck blowing up with fireworks inside it outside of a Trump International hotel. If you think that, you know, that's a happy new year or welcome to the new year. Oh, and then there was a shooting in New York. I'm not sure that was actually related to anything other than it's New York and it was a drive-by kind of thing. But I just think when Trump gets in, he is going to live or die in his first 100 days about within being able to stop the war in Israel and to stop the war in Ukraine. there is no war in Israel. It's Israel who are doing the warring. He needs to pull them up some way, shape, or form. Will he? Is he able to? Does he want to? All very good questions, I think. Very good questions, to which, at this point, I see conflicting messages when I'm trying to find an answer. So next year's going to be exciting. I think there'll be a little bit more death surrounding us, but it will be through many people dying of the flu during the cold season. We're already starting to see it in the UK with figures coming out saying, oh, gee, all these people are dying of flu again. Well, a couple of years ago, there was no flu. There was only the spicy cough. But as I was discussing with somebody today, we all knew when the spicy jab happened that it was a slow release kind of death. It was going to take. They couldn't have as many people as they wanted dead, keeling over in the space of a day, a week, a year even. It would have looked too much like genocide. Now they're going to blame all these deaths that are happening and continue to happen on the flu because it's the season for it. And people have been programmed just to accept what is being said off the box. So I'm hoping that when people start attending more than maybe 1 or 2 funerals a month, they'll start to wake up and really realize what's going on. But then I fear for those of us that have not been jabbed, because when that realization hits many of those fully jabbed people, they're going to be pretty unhappy, and they're going to want retribution, and they may well take it out on us, those who, not because we're smarter or any other reason, just we applied a little more logic to the argument than they did, and that humiliation might upset many of them, I think, and that could be a threat to many of us. So I hope that doesn't eventuate. I think there's going to be rocky times ahead in 2025, but by and large, I'm very hopeful that we are going to push through it and be much bigger, much better, and hopefully much freer come 2026.
Yep. Okay. A quick answer for Kurt. If everything goes as it's supposed to, your corporate government doesn't exist anymore, neither do the enforcement arms. So in answer to your assets, how can they enforce anything when they don't have an arm to enforce it with? Anyway, Tim.
Vince. All right. How do I see 2025?
Yep.
Well, the world as a whole, I look at parts of it to sort of take a temperature reading, if you like. The Jewish program and the Palestinians and all those concerned, we've got to understand that the Jewish people as a whole are not all of the same ilk. For a start, there are those who live under the Torah and there are those who live under the Talmud. And when you read the Talmud, it reads a bit like the Quran. They are the warring type folks.
Yes.
And the Israelites, right, who are the original, what we call Jewish people, they're the Israelites. They do not follow the Talmud. They are just normal, happy living people, just like the rest of us. As in every society, we look at our own society here, we have those within our ilk who would wage war on the civilian population. They're dressed in suits and they're called honorables and doctors, and they allow bioweapons to attack us. They are not the normal Australians. Same sort of thing. When I look around in America, I have great fears for 3 blokes. Now, one of them I don't trust overly very much, and that's Elon Musk. But I have great fears for 3 blokes in America that as they step forward to do what they told us they will do, I believe Robert Kennedy will be the first one that will be shot, simply because Big Pharma cannot afford him to go forward and do what he said he's going to do. But I think he's already done half of it because the people now have been made so much aware already that he's done a lot. And then Donald Trump. Well, can he stop the wars in a day or a week? I don't know what he knows, and I don't have available to me what he has. Maybe he can. However, what we do know is that all our currencies are exhausted. You see, it doesn't matter. Like you look at petrol out there, it's $1.95 a litre, right? Nearly $2 a litre. Petrol hasn't got any dearer. Food hasn't got any dearer. Just that our money has become worth less. They have devalued our currency by printing it like madmen. And so when I look around the world, and you've got to look for the stronger currencies, where the stronger currencies are coming from. And if we stay where we are with our currency, we will go into, like, you'll need a wheelbarrow full of money just to go and buy a loaf of bread at this rate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about the value of our currency in the current system. The other side of it is that the other parts of the world that seem overly populated and so forth, and everybody's saying we've got to move out, we don't have enough food, we're not this, we're not that. There is more than enough. It's an orchestrated process to literally take away the stronger Christian cultures of the world and break them up. I look at, from my perspective, I'm fairly insular. I look at Australia and New Zealand. They're the two things that I try and keep my focus on. And I can see this year, 2025, one way or the other will be a tumultuous year. If we pull off what we're going to pull off, it'll be tumultuous. If we don't, it'll be tumultuous.
Tumultuous, yeah.
Right?
Sure
It will
will.
be biblical in its proportions, right? Because what will happen is they will hit the opposition, and this is the same around the world. If the people who stand for human rights, for freedoms of people, for small government, for getting rid of the criminal bank systems, if we are not successful, they will hit the gas pedal on their systems, and we will get run over like a bloody rat in the middle of the night, and they don't care. And this is the key thing we have to understand. There is nobody pulling the levers of power in the world at the moment that actually cares about the people. They see us as too many. They see us that we must be eliminated by the billions, and how they go about it, they don't care. The aliens are going to come down and do all their shit. Blue Beam's going to do it, and everybody's going to run around in fear and panic. I'm going to sit there and crack a beer and watch the show, if that's the case.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
So-
we're all meeting at Tim's place.
And for 2026, I got no clue. I probably don't have much of a clue, to be honest, past June. Right?
Yeah,
And
I feel about the same way. I think his first 100 days is going to be very telling, and it could go anywhere from there. We could find out we are able to take free trips to the moon to go and have a look at the setup they've had up there for the last God knows how long. In his first 100 days, anything's possible. Anything's possible, gentlemen.
Anything.
Just
what are you winding us up already?
Well, we've gone an hour and a half, and I know, I know that your wife in particular, Tim, likes to get you into bed early.
Steady there, Carl. Steady.
No, I mean, to
You're
look
right,
after
mate,
your
you're
health.
right.
To look after your health, you're a busy man.
Yes.
And yet again, I just remind you, Carl,
Oh, Carl. Dear, oh dear.
All right.
Sometimes keeping secrets can be so much fun.
Anyway, there we go. Before we leave, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who's made comments, good, bad, and indifferent. That's what discussion is all about, is opening up people's minds and getting a feel for where they are and where they're coming from, and how to go about keeping the society cohesional whilst understanding each other's differences. Have a good year, people.
Yes,
thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Have a great one, mate. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Don't forget, folks, if you want a hydrogen system for your vehicle, they work wonderfully on the diesels. They work bloody well on the petrols. They do absolutely nothing for electric vehicles whatsoever, except hopefully put them out of business. But Tim's your man, h2@vofhq.com. We'll get an email straight to Tim, and he will let you know how you can get a hydrogen system for your vehicle if you let him know what kind of vehicle you have. Good night, Vince.
I have to do the wave.
You've got to get the wave in. I just thought I'd get you off before I said anything else. Just wanted to wish you a Happy New Year, mate. Thank you again for coming on and everything that you do for the Voice of Freedom and for FBN. I don't know if you've had the opportunity yet to talk to Guru and have a chat with his side. They're very keen to be involved and happy to be helping out. So, and of course, Becky O and the crew from Truth Seekers TV. There is a few other people we've approached as well.
Faith,
Wade,
the Faith Ministry and Billboard Battalions, etc. The website is moving along a little bit at the moment. I'm just sorting out permissions so they can manage their pages. So that's coming along. For all those people who are interested in being part of the background chat who are influencers, please email me, vince@fbnmedia.online. Right, I will be dedicating a specific private channel just for us to be able to talk to each other. Not for general public, but just for us people who are on there, who are producing the shows, who are getting the news, the reporters, etc., so that should something happen like a really large picnic, we can get it out to the world.
Yes.
Okay?
Because really large picnics are great things to attend. I'm not talking about teddy bears. There'll be no teddy bears at the... But it will be a really large picnic. A very,
love that picnic basket.
Hey, boo-boo. All right. Been a pleasure once again having you in on a Friday night. Have you got plans for the weekend, buddy?
Taking the son back to Adelaide on Saturday, taking the other one to his mother's on Sunday. So, yeah, I'm doing a bit of traveling. Gives me a chance to listen to some podcasts on the way. So, nice. Yeah, all good. Nice.
All right, well, you enjoy it. Stay safe on the road, because what lives out on the road, mate?
Yeah, dickheads.
Have a great weekend, folks.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!